in France and Italy, they've introduced the requirement to show your double jab status before you can go inside a bar or a restaurant or many other places. Indeed, I take August the 9th in France, so I'm going to have to make sure I'm outdoors all the time and not following those rules, having to show my vaccine status elsewhere. New York has become one of the first states in America to introduce vaccine passports for bars, restaurants and gyms, despite the fact, of course, they haven't got anything like the same take-up of jabs as we've got here in the UK, where that had been mooted. We're told isn't happening. Not necessarily sure how much I trust that. Well, let's talk about this with James Melville. He's managing director of East Points West Communications Consultancy. Has been someone fighting vaccine passports and lockdowns for many months. Good morning to you, James.
Good morning, Julia. How are you?
Very well indeed. I have to say, I do feel a lot of the time, we get good news and then bad news follows. It's sort of, we get given good news and we move forward a few steps and then we immediately get dragged back again. We've seen some really brave leadership from the likes, DeSantis, the governor of Florida, unlocking last September and refusing to lock down again during winter spikes, and again seeing exactly the same patterns as other states, and all the pressures on him. But states like New York and California, they went full throttle into lockdown. They certainly, New York, hit incredibly badly, being strong in urban area in New York City. But despite they had, got the rollout, despite going through the worst of things and coming out of their lockdown just a month or so ago, they've now said, basically, if you're not double jabbed, you can't go inside a bar, you can't go inside a restaurant, can't go inside a gym. Basically, a two-tier medical apartheid in that city, in that country. It's in that state. How worried are you that we are going to see something like that here?
I'm concerned that this will happen here. It feels like a bit of mission creep, all of this. I've been largely pro-vaccine because it was pretty inevitable to me that was the way through this. That's what the public saw as their social contract. But for me, the line in the sand is domestic vaccine passports. I'm pretty comfortable with international vaccine passports. There's various other examples of that with other illnesses. But you're right. This risks a form of medical discrimination, a two-tier society. And also, I think it's completely unworkable. For instance, you can still transmit COVID even after a vaccine. Some evidence suggests that's slightly suppressed a bit, but it isn't clear. So what happens, for instance, not just in terms of pubs or restaurants, but if you're in a stadium with 100,000 people and the majority of those people have, all of them got vaccine passports, there's a danger that could be transmitted in greater numbers.
Yeah,
I think also it creates a precedent whereby suddenly we're in a situation whereby this is data authoritarianism. And where does it stop? It might be a Trojan horse to other things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We keep being told, this isn't going to happen, and then it does. And then we're told, we're giving up on vaccine passports here in the UK for bars, restaurants and cafes. Then, no, it's nightclubs, but don't worry, it's just nightclubs. Then it was mooted for students going to their hall of residence or even going to a lecture. And then we're told, it could be churches as well. As you say, the mission creep has always been extraordinary. Whenever you think, look, it's just for a short time. It's just for those people. It's just for that event. It always immediately explodes into far more.
It does. It's that mission creep thing again. If you look at even with lockdowns, the pattern of that is, we'll be unlocking, or we'll be tiered locking, or, the comments that will be free by February, or comments that 15 million jabs and will be free. The pattern's been there on other things. And now it's happening with vaccine passports. I'm heartened by the likes of the Lib Dems, for instance, who are taking a bit of a stand on this.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Tory MPs who are uncomfortable about this. I think there was about 50 of them at the last count who were expressing concern. Labour, who knows what Labour are saying on this? They seem to be flipping around all over the place. And then there's the public. So we're in a situation where, great numbers of people are getting vaccinated. The rollout has been superb. It's been one of the few success stories of the government's response throughout this crisis. But the public, I don't think they understand the implications of vaccine passports. In a situation whereby people are desperate to get their freedoms back.
Yeah.
So this is getting their social freedoms back, but risking a loss of medical freedom, medical autonomy, and also potentially data autonomy as well.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, we know very different take-up of vaccines in different age groups. Obviously, for people who are more risk, more likely to get the vaccine, but also the availability of the rollout so far, but also in different ethnic groups, different religious groups. Now, I'm of the view that, if you are at risk, you should get the vaccine, but it should still be your free choice. And if you don't get the vaccine for, a political reason, a medical reason, a moral reason, or because you get your news from Facebook foolishly and you think it's a big conspiracy from Bill Gates, I think we should try and give you the full correct facts. But if you choose still not to get the vaccine, that should be your choice, because the person you're putting at risk is yourself, not other people. It's very clear on the data now that is the case. In which case, I just think we can't have a situation where we are seeing, basically discrimination, which is pretty much going to go along the lines of ethnic discrimination, racial discrimination on the doors of bars. Let me also ask you, by the way, about a tweet you posted yesterday that seemed to get an awful lot of people's knickers in a twist. You tweeted, just popped into a local butcher's shop in Fife, and the butcher said, "Are you James Melville from Twitter? I love your feed. What you're doing is amazing. Keep going." And you wrote, "This sort of thing is happening a lot now. It's both discombobulating and heartening in equal measure." This prompted a lot of people to take the mick, but largely taking the mick on the basis like this never happened. Now, I want to come to your defence on this, because I've got to be honest, people come up to me all the time and say very similar things. We get people writing in to the studio, people tweeting, messaging, saying, I had someone getting in touch who's quite well known and married to someone quite well known, who said, off the record, I just want to get in touch and say thank you for bringing some sanity to the analysis of this, and it's good to know there's a radio station and TV stations out there that's actually talking sense on these issues and asking the right questions instead of saying more lockdown, more lockdown. Tell us first of all, why you decided to share that story, and what's it like to have all these people taking the mick out of what was actually quite a nice event.
A bit like you, I've got a bit of a thick skin. I mean, when you go on Twitter and you say stuff, you can't always get it right. I've made mistakes all the time. I mean, that's the nature of Twitter. You can't exactly get your words. But I did it, and I've done it before. I just thought it was a bit of, I don't know, Tiggerish enthusiasm putting that out. I thought it was a nice thing to say. I'm certainly not going to say which butcher it is, because I wouldn't want them to be inflicted by some of the comments yesterday. But it was a nice thing, and it seems to have fallen into two categories: a bit of light-hearted banter, which I can take, but also annoying all the right people as well. And I think we've got to a case whereby there's a lot of problems in the world, and there's about 12 million people waiting for treatment. But yesterday, I was trending above Jack Grealish simply because I got a compliment from a butcher. And then there was a Scottish newspaper who were even phoning up various butchers across Scotland to see if they were the ones. How dare they to give me a compliment?
Their time might have been better spent calling up our hospitals and asking why they're not treating people for cancer who are waiting on cancer. Well, it's quite bizarre, isn't it? James, we'll have to leave it there. James Melville is MD of East Points West Communications Consultancy.